Bear kills women picking berries. Women mauled and eaten by bear on Russian island. Boots and bucket only remain. A tragic incident unfolded on Sakhalin, Russia's largest island, when 63-year-old Lyudmila Komarova was mauled to death by a brown bear while foraging for berries. What rescuers later discovered at the scene were heartbreaking remnants: a pair of boots, a broken berry picking bucket, and her backpack. Now let's dig into this story together on the AI podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. We've gotten a lot of source material from you about these really intense close encounters between people and wild bears. So today we're diving right into that unpredictable reality. Moving past just the numbers to look at the raw violence and the incredible cost of just surviving these things. Our mission really is to unpack two specific, quite dramatic cases. One's from Russia, the other from the Canadian Rockies. We want to get a handle on the sheer speed, the severity, and, the long-term impact these encounters have. What happens right then and what lingers for years.
Yeah, and it's important to say up front, these kinds of attacks, genuine attacks, they're incredibly rare. We're definitely looking at outliers here, but they're a stark reminder, aren't they, of how fast things can go wrong when human activity crosses paths with a protective animal, especially a mother protecting her young.
Okay, let's start with that idea of instant devastation. This first account is from Sakhalin in Russia. It involves a 63-year-old woman, Lyudmila Komarova. She was just out picking berries with a friend, Natalia Borisovna. Seemed like a normal afternoon.
And the trigger, the catalyst here, is key. Natalia spots a brown bear. And right there with it, a cub. That's the crucial detail. When there's a cub, it's a whole different situation.
Right.
Natalia, instinctively shouts, tries to warn it off, yells, "Go away!" Something like that.
But the bear doesn't hear a warning. It hears a threat to the cub.
Exactly. And the mother bear just explodes. No hesitation. A savage attack on Lyudmila.
And Natalia's description, it's chilling. It captures the speed. She just said that after the noise of the attack started, then there was just silence.
That silence, after that sudden violence, it really says everything, doesn't it? But the horror didn't actually end there. The recovery efforts, they tell another part of the story. Search parties went out quickly, but they kept getting blocked, hampered, because the mother bear and her cub wouldn't leave. They stayed right near Lyudmila's body.
Wait, so the bear was actively guarding the site. How close were the searchers actually getting?
They had to pull back overnight. And at points, the rescuers reported the bears were lurking just 35 meters away. It's a bit over 100 feet?
Wow. That close.
Purely defensive. Protecting the site, which it now saw as, territory and a food source, it made securing the area incredibly difficult and dangerous.
That must have been just agonizing for the search team, knowing they were so close but couldn't. And the sources, they detail what happened the next day, the discovery itself. It was traumatic.
Yes, extremely. They eventually had to take drastic measures. They shot and wounded the cub, unfortunately, just to force the mother back long enough to get in. And what they found, it showed the totality of the event. Only Lyudmila's boots were left. Her broken berry bucket, her backpack. Most of her body had been consumed by the bear.
Gosh.
And just adding another layer of awful tragedy, her own son was part of that search party.
Oh, no.
This underscores how fast a life can be taken in these primal encounters and the trauma that ripples out afterwards.
Okay, so that first story really defines instant fatality and that lingering threat. Now let's shift to a different kind of devastation. This is a near-fatal encounter. Jeremy Evans, Alberta Rockies, back in 2017, he was 39, an experienced outdoorsman out hunting, and he was ambushed by a grizzly. And yes, this mother bear also had a cub she was protecting.
Right. And this case gives us a really harrowing picture of what the human body can endure. And the injuries, Evans was ambushed. The injuries were catastrophic, life-altering, happened in seconds. The attack literally tore off part of his face.
The details are, they're graphic, but important for understanding the force we're talking about. He later remembered, actually recalled, reaching down and picking up pieces of himself from the ground. Part of his mustache, his ear, his scalp.
Yeah.
That detail, it just shows this isn't a bite or a scratch. It's tearing, shredding, total destruction in moments.
Absolutely. Comprehensive trauma. But, and this is where it gets almost unbelievable, his resilience. Despite the massive blood loss, those horrific injuries, Evans didn't die there. He somehow managed to stagger through the wilderness.
He didn't just stagger, did he? The sources say he managed to drive himself, drove 14 miles to get help.
Yes.
Drive.
How is that even possible, given the state he must have been in? Adrenaline, shock,
It has to be that primal shock response. The body just shuts down pain temporarily, pours everything into escape, sheer survival instinct. But while that response saved his life right then, physically, it set the stage for a really long, difficult recovery.
Yeah, let's talk about that recovery, because this wasn't just you get stitched up and go home.
Oh, far from it. Physically. 5 weeks in the hospital, 5 major reconstructive surgeries initially.
5.
Followed by more than a dozen smaller procedures later on, just trying to piece him back together. But the sources really stress this point. The psychological cost was just as severe, maybe even harder in the long run.
How so?
He developed severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, found himself triggered by, seemingly small things, the smell of the woods, maybe being alone. The trauma ran so deep that he admitted struggling with suicidal thoughts after the attack. That's the part that really redefines survival, isn't it? The physical attack ends, the bear leaves, but the mental battle that just keeps going.
Precisely. His experience forces us, really, to see that just escaping with your life is, well, it's only the first step, a brutal first step. Jeremy Evans said the only thing that kept him fighting through that darkness, that mental anguish, was thinking about his young daughter. That psychological battle, the anxiety, the flashbacks, the PTSD, it shows that the invisible wounds can sometimes be the most debilitating part of surviving something like this.
Okay, let's try and connect these dots. We have these 2 incredibly intense stories. A berry picker in Russia, a hunter in Canada. Very different contexts. Both end in immediate, life-altering violence. So what's the common thread here? What's the fundamental link?
The link, and this is absolutely critical for anyone who spends time in bear country, is the cub. Both attacks were instant, devastating, because they involved mother bears making a defensive strike, protecting their young from what they saw as a threat.
Why is that kind of defensive attack, the one involving a cub, typically so much faster and more severe than, say, a predatory attack, where a bear might be looking for food?
Well, because there's zero buildup. There's no warning phase. A predatory bear might stalk, it might bluff charge, it might be deterred by noise or spray. But a mother protecting her cub, she perceives an immediate existential threat. The reaction isn't calculated. It's pure instinct, instantaneous. The speed, the intensity, it's all geared towards neutralizing that perceived threat now. And the level of injury reflects that total, sudden commitment.
So in these specific situations, any chance to deter, to yell, to maybe slowly back away, it's basically gone. Because the moment she sees you near that cub, she's already reacting.
That's generally it. Experts consistently warn about this. While attacks are rare, statistically rare, when they happen under these specific conditions, mother-cub perceived threat, the outcome is almost always catastrophic, fatal or life-altering. The sources really teach us that this mother-cub dynamic creates the ultimate unpredictable danger zone in the wilderness. You stumble into it, that window for de-escalation, for escape, it just slams shut. Instantly.
It really highlights a difference, doesn't it? An animal acting out of hunger versus one acting out of the most powerful protective drive there is.
Exactly. And that protective drive doesn't just switch off. Which explains why the mother bear in Russia lingered, why she saw the rescuers as more threats. It reinforces the danger, even after the initial violence is over. #tag outro.
So, this deep dive, looking at Lyudmila Komarova and Jeremy Evans, it leaves us with some really clear, unavoidable takeaways. First, the extreme, immediate danger from protective mother bears. Second, the sheer physical trauma these encounters inflict in mere seconds. And maybe most importantly, the invisible damage. The long-term psychological scars, the PTSD, the suicidal thoughts that survivors like Jeremy Evans battle long after the physical wounds start to heal.
Yeah, and if you connect Jeremy Evans' really painful, ongoing struggle, the PTSD, the years of recovery, to the bigger picture, it brings up a question, something for you to maybe mull over. If the physical escape, surviving the attack itself, is just the very first step, followed by surgeries, years of psychological warfare, how should we actually define survival after something like this? Is the real measure of survival the ability to keep fighting that invisible war long after the visible wounds seem closed? Is a sobering thought, I think. Captures the full, relentless cost of these rare but devastating collisions with the wild.
Okay, one question for you. Do you think humans should avoid foraging or hiking in known bear habitats, even if it's part of local tradition? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.